All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. AV cleared us for audio. Thank you all for being so engaged with our suppliers. We are so happy to have them here this morning with us. All right, thank you. So welcome to our second forum that Central Procurement has put on. We are part of Department of General Services here. We are also located on this floor. And we are going to kick things off and go straight into it this morning. I'm Stephanie Landmark. I've been with Central Procurement Office for almost 4 years now. I was facilitating last year's class for Commodities, Technologies, and Services class. But I've been honored and tasked to help lead the forum for this year. So that means I've been working and every week with a task force that we come together for the last 5 months, once a week, to see how we can do this better, how we can make it more relevant, how we can share more information and be more engaged to serve you all. So thank you so much. We've strived to be dedicated to hear your input. And so we received such great feedback from last year, which was our first forum. These are a few pictures that were taken. And it was wonderful to hear that it was useful of your time. And we want to keep sharing more updates with you, more communication, and a singular platform that you can come and get to know us better. We want to continue our relationship and make sure that we're engaged in every way that we can be for our statewide contracts, supporting you all. And so we intend to keep this going annually. Hopefully next year we'll have a date soon to push out to you all. So thank you so much for participating. I'm going to go over the agenda today. I'm sure you all have looked into your goodie bag. The agenda is in there. And we've started a little bit late this morning, but we're going to have several classes in here that we can all share together and be on a singular platform. We have putting statewide contracts to use and commodity services and technology. They're going to be in here in this room. After that, there will be the first session for a class breakout session. I'm going to go over the list of those classes. It's going to be on the next slide. That is going to start at 10 a.m. And then that's a full hour, and we'll be back in here for lunch. Lunches will be outside on the hallway in those tables. So come on in here. These tables will be the tables you can eat and use for your use. We're combining lunch right after. We're going to flow right into a secondary supplier fair. Some feedback on the supplier side was we wanted more networking, dedicated time to show that, we love our suppliers and we want them to be just as excited about this forum and dedicate some more time with them to get to know you all better. So that was something new for this year's forum as well. So that should end at 12:30 if time is on our side. And then that will lead into, you'll have 10 minutes to go through the list of the breakout sessions, choose which one you want to go for the second session. That's another full hour, and then we'll be right back in this room for a Q&A session. And then diversity office, the governor's GoDBE office will be in here sharing their segment. And then we're going to end with some closing remarks with our Chief Procurement Officer, Mike Perry, and then have some fun door prizes for you all. Please know that our suppliers are here all day. So if there's something that you want to give them your business card, just know that they're here all day. Even though there's 2 segments here, if you want to catch them at the end, we want to make use of their time that they're here. These are our breakout sessions. And we want to encourage the live stream rooms, are the multimedia room highlighted in red. That has a very high capacity of seating. So we want to encourage. Tech Savvy was a class with the highest attendance last year. So if you are excited about technology, we encourage you to go to the multimedia room session. Conference room E will be that's the second session that it will be held in. The capacity is only 30 chairs. And the multimedia room sits almost 93, so we encourage you to fill up first the multimedia room. Building positive supplier relationships will also be live streamed, but the first session will be in conference room E. So take note that the larger classroom will be their second 12:40 p.m. session. There are class descriptions on your agenda as well. It gives you a little short snippet of the content that will be shared. So please, I encourage you to read through it, take some time. All of these classes are wonderful. We've worked very hard with each facilitator, and we're excited to share. And there are Q&A sessions at the end, so bring your questions, your engagement, and we'll move forward with gearing that off. Again, thank you to all of our suppliers. We have a full list of their names of who's attended. We thank you so much. And we do have our sister agencies in this room in the back. We encourage you, if you have questions that cannot be answered right now, that maybe need some more thought or input or data, write your name and your question on your business card and leave it to the CPO booth. Or if you have any questions for Tricor, Document Solutions, GoDBE, Tennessee Smart Shop, that's a way we can follow up with you after if you have questions that haven't been answered throughout the day. So those booths, again, are here all day, and that's a good way for us to have your contact information and follow up with you with more questions as well. All right, so I'm going to gear things off to Joy Brassfield for our first session. Thank you so much.
Can you guys hear me okay? All right, great. Good morning, everyone. I'm Joy Brassfield. I've been with the CPO almost 6 years now. I am a services team lead, so I manage our statewide contracts that are service related. And I had the pleasure of being here with you guys last year and sharing a similar presentation, and I'm excited to not be booed out of the room. They welcomed me back, so thank you guys so much for coming, and I'm really excited. Up first, I have a video for you that we shared last year. We're really excited about it, but I want you to take a look at this and see if it relates to your life in procurement.
Does this look like you? Handling procurements is a great way to serve an agency or organization, but sometimes that work creates a lot of pressure. Everybody wants the best product or service, they want the best price, and they want you to get it for them right now. What if I told you there was a quick and easy source for help? Statewide contracts may be the answer for you. Statewide contracts are contracts for goods or services secured by the state of Tennessee for use by state agencies. But these carefully negotiated and cost-effective contracts can also be used by local governments, higher education institutions, and qualified not-for-profit organizations. There are almost 150 statewide contracts you can use to buy the goods, services, and technology you need. Imagine all the purchasing it takes to run an organization as large as Tennessee state government. Those same contracts can be available to you and at the same price paid by the state. So how does this help you? Competitive pricing and economies of scale mean you can harness the power of statewide contracts to lower the prices you pay. Statewide contracts are competitively procured, meaning you can use them without doing your own time-consuming advertising and soliciting. Spending less time on procurements frees up your personnel to work on other tasks and priorities, thus reducing your administrative costs. Statewide contracts are developed, evaluated, and managed by Tennessee's own subject matter experts and procurement professionals, assuring that you have access to carefully screened goods and services from dependable suppliers. And Tennessee's successful program for attracting and assisting small businesses and businesses owned by minorities, women, service-disabled veterans, and persons with disabilities means that statewide contracts nurture diverse suppliers and encourage local businesses. More than 140 local entities in Tennessee are currently using statewide contracts. By doing so, they are capitalizing on the state's procurement expertise and experience. They are lowering the prices they pay for goods and services, and if they have any questions or comments about the contracts they are using, they can contact the supplier directly, or one of the state's experienced contract managers is just a phone call or an email away. In short, what can statewide contracts offer? How about less work for you, lower prices for your organization, and equal or better value for your customers? Plus, they're quick and easy to use. Find out more about statewide contracts and how you, your agency, and your customers can benefit.
So, for how many of you does that sound like your day to-day in procurement? I need this and I need it yesterday, right? So, we haven't invented time travel, but we can't get something for you yesterday, but we can help you get something as soon as possible. So we have statewide contracts that are available that you can just go ahead and purchase off of. You don't have to go through the contract development, the scope and solicitation writing process, soliciting, all of that. So we're trying to make things a little easier for you guys, and we in procurement we do those things often and have to wear many hats. So we're excited to be here to help you guys. So what I'm going to cover today are what is the CPO and what are statewide contracts, the benefits of using statewide contracts, how to access our contracts and all the documents, how to find if a particular good or service is available through one of our contracts, and then actually making the purchase from it, and most importantly, how you guys can contact us if you have any questions throughout the process. So how many of you have used a statewide contract before? It's a good amount. Great. So the Central Procurement Office, we are the ones that do the statewide contracts, and we're a division of the Department of General Services. And we were founded in 2011. Previously, procurement for the state wasn't centralized in one division like this. And so, fairly young office, but we've been doing procurement as a state for a long time, as you can imagine. And Mike Perry, who is our Chief Procurement Officer, he isn't with us this morning, but he'll be here a little later today. He can tell you all kinds of stories about procurement over the years with the state. So hopefully you'll get the chance to meet him. And what we strive to do in the Department of General Services, and especially here in CPO, is to provide better services at lower cost. So a statewide contract is simply a contract for a good or service that is established by us here in CPO, and it's available to all state agencies as well as authorized users. And I'll go over what authorized users are, but you guys have been invited here today because you guys are authorized to use our contracts. We have contracts broken out into three teams. And so the first is our commodities-based contracts, of things that you can physically touch. And we have around 55 commodities-based contracts, for example, vehicle purchasing. We also have our technology team, and we have about 48 statewide contracts for technology components. That's hardware, software, anything that has a heavy tech component will fall on that team. So for example, GPS tracking on that vehicle you may purchase. And then we have services contracts. These are things, professional services, maintenance or repair, those kinds of things that have a service element to them. So for example, fleet maintenance on the vehicle that you've gotten. So you all as authorized users can purchase directly through our statewide contracts. And I just want to make sure that you guys know you do still need to follow any policies and procedures that exist at your level of government, of course. But barring anything in your all's policies or procedures, it's as simple as purchasing off of it. And most instances, that's all it is. There may be a few administrative things that we'll talk about in a little bit that you would do. But our authorized users are state government entities, so that's our departments and agencies, the commissions, the legislature, as well as the court system. And I'm not going to bore you guys by reading Tennessee Code, but I do have reference to our Tennessee Code annotated, the statute that gives us authority for each entity that can use the contracts. Local governments are also authorized. So that's counties, municipalities, cities, school districts, and quasi-governmental organizations such as public utilities. And the authorization for that is under TCA 12.3.1201, and also that's in our Tennessee rules and regulations as well. There's a reference there for you guys. Higher education institutions are also authorized to use our contracts, so that includes our universities, community colleges, TCATs. It even includes private and nonprofit higher education institutions in the state of Tennessee. Qualifying nonprofits can also use our contracts, and these are 501c3 organizations that contract with our Department of Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities and Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services to provide services to citizens. I want to talk to you a little bit about how we develop a statewide contract. So the first thing we'll do is market research. We have access to procurement tools, and we'll research what the industry looks like, what the cost drivers are, who's competing in this industry, any changes that are coming. We'll get a good handle on what it is that we're trying to procure and the background of that in the market. We'll then identify suppliers. So at the state we have Edison. Has anybody heard of Edison? It's our procurement system. It's our ERP. It's kind of everything for us. So suppliers register in Edison that they want to do business with the state of Tennessee. And so we have tons of suppliers that have registered, and they select, okay, I can provide these services, these kinds of codes that they select for what they can provide. And then anytime we have a solicitation for something within that code, we'll notify them that there's an opportunity. We'll also identify suppliers in other means. Just general research to find the suppliers in the industry. We'll also benchmark the contract, so we'll compare to other states, as well as any other public information that's out there about contracts. We'll find what are the best terms that folks are operating under, what is the best pricing structure, those kinds of things we'll look at and make sure that we're getting the best contract developed. We then we collaborate a lot with our state agencies and SMEs, or subject matter experts. So I am not an expert in vehicle maintenance, for instance. I could not do an oil change to save my life. But luckily, I know some folks in state government that I can call to help make sure that we're getting a contract developed, which is where my expertise would come in, is around the procurement, to get a good fleet maintenance contract in place. So we collaborate with state agencies. We'll even collaborate with local governments. It may involve certifying organizations, whatever it takes to make sure that we're getting the right people involved in the procurement process and getting their input as end users and experts in the field to develop a contract that makes sense and is in our best interest for the state. Once we finalize our solicitation documents, everything goes through review by staff attorneys with a CPO. And so legal is looking at everything that goes out our door for a contract and making sure that it doesn't violate any state statutes and that it's in the best interest of Tennessee. They're looking at the risk assessment for it as well. So they're operating and making sure that it's best for Tennessee and for all of our citizens. When we procure a statewide contract, we'll advertise it, so everything gets posted on our website, and we also send that notification out to any suppliers who are interested in that type of product or service. And We will then hold a pre-response conference, and that's our opportunity to meet with suppliers to help them understand the procurement process, what it is to do business with government, as well as understand the specifics of the contract. They can ask any questions, they can provide feedback on the solicitation. It's a great opportunity to engage suppliers in our communities about these contracts as well. Once we receive bids, they are closed sealed bids, and so once the procurement deadline passes, we'll evaluate those. We'll make sure that all the requirements are met. If someone doesn't for some reason meet a requirement, they'll be excluded. But we'll make sure that everyone who's proposing and we're evaluating meets all of our criteria, and we'll evaluate pricing. We'll then negotiate. So we may negotiate pricing, we may negotiate the terms of the contract, whatever is appropriate for that particular solicitation. And if you'll remember, we do benchmarking of the industry and other state contracts, so we kind of have an idea of what's a reasonable price for something, and we'll use that information if we're negotiating the pricing as well. We'll then award the contract and execute the contract and put those in place. We also manage the contract here in CPO. So not only we're involved from really kind of cradle to grave. So we know everything that came up during the solicitation phase, and that helps inform us as we manage the contract. It can help resolve any issues that come up, how do I use this, anything that comes up about making sure that these contracts are getting used properly and they're benefiting our customers. So the number one reason to use statewide contracts is because you don't have to reinvent the wheel. How many of you have a government-issued phone? I have one over here attached to my hip, I feel like. So we've all either a hard phone at our desk or a cell phone with us here today. We've all got some kind of phone that we're having to use for government. Let's just procure that phone once. Why procure the phone for every single person in this room through a different solicitation when we can do it once? So I think that's the biggest thing, is that we don't have to waste government time and taxpayer money in doing the same thing. We can pull together and make a great solicitation that we can all utilize. Because you don't have to run a procurement on your own to use a statewide contract, that frees up that time. So you're able to focus on something more important to your organization. You can focus on that strategic plan that you're always scrambling to find time to work on. Or if it's something that you need to procure that we don't have a statewide contract, you can put more time and effort into making sure that that's the best contract that you can get for your organization. We also benefit from the fact that when we pool all of our volume together, we're going to get better pricing. So the higher the volume, the more we can leverage pricing breaks and things like that. So when you think about how much we're spending, everyone in this room, it's crazy amount of money. So when we pool it all together, we're able to get better rates and savings for all of our customers and our citizens. You also get the benefit of having multiple subject matter experts involved in the procurement. So, you have us here in the CPO. We also have an attorney, as I mentioned, that reviews every one of our contracts. We have a whole legal team that's involved with us. And we're involving those at the agencies and you guys as well who are experts in the industry to help develop these. We then manage the contracts, as I mentioned, and so we're a point of contact for you guys. If you have any questions or if you have an issue with a supplier on a contract, we can help with those things. And we're always going to make sure, we're here in Tennessee, we're making sure that we're acting in the best interest of Tennesseans. You also gain access to our diverse and dependable suppliers. So later today, our Governor's Office of Diversity Business Enterprise will speak to you all. And what they do is they certify small and minority businesses in the state. And so we engage those suppliers to make sure that they're competing on state business. And currently we have over 40 certified small minority businesses that are on our statewide contracts. And we also have these suppliers that are located throughout the state. So we have over 175 suppliers with locations here in Tennessee that are on our statewide contracts. And you'll see it truly runs the course of the state. You also gain the ability to collaborate with us. So we want to hear from you guys. That's why we're all in this room together today. We want to hear from you all what ideas you have for additional items to add to a contract or new solicitations that we should do. We also really benefit from hearing from you all about local suppliers. So we do what we can to identify suppliers, but you guys know best who's in your community. So you know the person down the street that can do the scope of work. And we may not be able to find them through Google or whatever means here in Nashville. So we really appreciate it when you guys recommend suppliers. And we've been able to, in the past year, we've got some recommendations from cities and universities that we were able to get them contracts for these suppliers. They competed and were awarded contracts. So we really appreciate that. And we just want to hear any suggestions and feedback you have on our contracts. If there's something that affects you guys, we want to know about it. So if they're, I really want to use that contract that you have, but we have this special thing in our city or county or wherever it may be that we need incorporated into the contract for this to work for us. We may be able to accommodate that. We want to hear that from you guys. So when you want to purchase from a statewide contract, it is as easy as contacting the awarded contract holder, referencing the statewide contract, and then purchasing directly from it. And we'll go over that a little bit more as well. So I'm going to show you in a moment how to find the information on our website. But once you've identified the contract and the supplier, you'll reference what that information is so that when you contact the supplier to make the purchase, they know to attribute it to the correct contract and to give you the pricing and everything under the contract. You want to make sure that it is compliant with any policies and procedures in your organization, and you'll issue the purchase order. So I'm going to show you guys how to access information on the website. If you guys see in your bag, there is a pin, and on that pin there's a URL. That URL will get you to our statewide contract listing if you ever need to find it. But you can also go to Google and search CPO Tennessee, and you'll find our office. So on our website, you will see a tile for local units of government. And from here, you'll see a few resources. The first I want to go over is the statewide contract listing here. So this will take you to this page, and this is the URL that's on your pin.
There's no URL on our pins. This one? Because there's not one on here.
Oh, maybe the pin's changed, and I didn't realize. I'm sorry. We'll make sure that we send it out. I believe it's tn.gov/statewide-contracts. So fairly easy to remember. So from here, this is all of our active statewide contracts right now. There's a lot. You can, if you know what contract number or you want to search a keyword from it, you can do so. You can just do Control F. I'm going to show a couple here, and I'm going to first pull up our office supplies contract. So next to the contract that you see here, there's this folder icon. I know this is super intuitive. This one's going through it now. I don't know that I would have realized to click on those things myself. So once you click the folder icon, it'll pull up a separate tab that shows the summary information of the contract. If you're having difficulty getting it to pull up a second tab, your pop-ups may be blocked. So you'll just need to allow pop-ups for this site. You can then click on the folder icon under Contract Documents. And this will pull up all the contract files. So you'll see a few things here. You know, we have our signed contract, the usage instructions, we have the actual RFP that went out, as well as any amendments or things that have come up over the life of the contract. So I'm going to pull up the usage instructions for you, because depending on what contract you're looking at, there could be a lot of files loaded here. And the easiest way to find out about the contract and what it covers and the contact information, anything that you'll need to know, is to pull up those usage instructions. So you click on the document icon, and it'll load the usage instructions for you. And so vast majority of our contracts have these, and the format is very similar. It'll cover what the contract period is, some basic information about the contract, how to access additional information. You'll see some things that are specific to the state and state users. For example, you don't need to follow our requisition and purchasing process in Edison. You'll also find contact information for the supplier and for the contract administrator here in CPO on the usage instructions. Any special information about the contract will also be listed. The other thing I want to show you is back on that summary page, there is a line item folder icon you can click on. And it'll pull any of the set line items that are on the contract here. And you can view them all, you can export the information, but it'll have the pricing here for you. It's another quick way to see the information. There will be some contracts that have multiple suppliers listed. So this is our HVAC, electrical, and plumbing contract, and you'll see we have quite a few suppliers on this contract. All the documents are under each, so like that usage instructions will be under each contract, but the signed contract for Acorn here will only be under Acorn's folder. So I just wanted to make you aware that you'll see different things will look a little different depending on what contract you're pulling up. You'll also see this column here for contracts eligible to local governments. If it's checked, it means it's open to locals. I do want to say sometimes the things in our system get a little out of whack, so if you see one that isn't checked as open to locals, feel free to reach out to us. It may be, and it's just we have some issues with that functionality sometimes. The other thing I want to show you is that we do have some contracts that you'll pull up and it won't have that summary information and the ability to view documents. So this is one of our confidential statewide contracts. It's for digital imaging services scanning. It is open to local governments. However, we can't publicly post all the information online because it may make the state vulnerable. So hackers all around the world could then see, oh, well, the state's using this system to scan confidential information, and then they would know how to target that. So they are still available to you all. It's just not publicly posted online, but you can reach out to the CPO and we can get you the information on how to use those contracts. The other thing I want to show you here is from the Edison page that we were looking at. I'm actually just going to go on the home screen here. There is an Excel download that'll pull all of the line items. These are the set price line items on our contract. And it'll pull for all of our statewide contracts here. So you can quickly compare and reference to find if something's on a statewide contract as a line item using this feature. So I'm going to turn on the filter. And I'm going to search under the line description. There's tons of lines here. You obviously don't want to sit and read through everything, but you can search. Okay, so I've searched for minivan, and you can see that it returns 3 different statewide contracts and multiple line items for minivan. So we have a vehicle rental, the vehicle purchase contract, and a vehicle leasing. And so you can then see all of the supplier information is here, as well as the pricing. and contact information for who manages that contract here in the CPO. I mentioned that the usage instructions are one of the most helpful things to find contract information. So on that local governments tile that we pulled up earlier, there's also the statewide contract instructions page. And so this, instead of having to go into each individual contract, as I was showing before, you can pull up usage instructions for all of them here. So they're all listed out. It's by contract number, and I'll just briefly mention that where it says restricted statewide contract here, that means that it's restricted for state users. Those are our technology ones that have to go through our IT division for approval for folks to purchase off of. It doesn't apply to you guys as local users, so you don't have to worry about that caveat. But you can pull up any of our contract documents here and quickly see all that information I was showing you before, the background, the contract dates, and the contact information for the CPO and for the suppliers. So a few more ways that you can find information about how to contact the CPO. So on the CPO directory, which is on our website, you'll find everyone here in the CPO, but what I want to focus on is our category teams and categories of statewide contracts. So we have here a general email that you can always reach out to if you have questions. And then we also have a listing of our statewide contracts and who manages them here in the CPO. It's a quick way to see the statewide number, the basic description, and then who to reach out to. And another quick kind of cheat sheet for finding information is finding information for our suppliers. So on our website, and we'll start back here on the local units of government, we have TN Smart Shop, and TN Smart Shop has a demo class that they'll do today as well. So please feel free to go to that and learn more about that. But it's a marketplace. It houses a vast majority of our commodities-based contracts and the catalogs that are in there. So it's kind of like an Amazon marketplace that you can search items under. But on that page, we have statewide contract supplier contact list. And here you can search through and see the information about the contract and the contact information for the supplier that you could reach out to with any questions and to actually make your purchase as well. I mentioned that we want to hear from you guys about our solicitations and get feedback on how you're using our contract. So I want to show you a few ways that you can find what we're currently working on. So we do have all of our solicitations posted on our website, and so we have them based on invitations to bid, which are those that are evaluated and awarded, once you meet criteria based on lowest cost. And we have RFPs, RFQs, any of those that are evaluated and based on scored for qualifications as well. So you can find those on our website here. This is also something, if you have suppliers that you're working with, you can reference them to these pages as well, and they can find opportunities to bid through those as well. So we have the one for ITBs and the one for RFPs and other methods like that. And one more way that you can find active procurement information is our active CPO procurements. We would look at our category statewide contracts. And these are going to be any contracts that are in development or currently on the streets for procurement. So you can see, a contract here that we're working on for shredding services that Lynette is managing, and you'll see kind of where we're at in the process for that contract. So if you know that you're going to be needing shredding services soon and you want to provide feedback on that solicitation, you could reach out to Lynette Munson and find out more information and get involved that way. And I do have all of these in slides since those will be shared for you later. I just wanted to show you live. I think that's a better way to follow through everything. But we do have screenshots and links and everything for you to find the information here as well. Yeah. We do have a mailing list, and this is something that we were working on last year, and I'm excited that we finally got it figured out and rolled out. So we'll share statewide contract updates. So if you want to subscribe to that, let us know. We can help you get subscribed in the CPO booth, or just reach out to us. And you probably already got some mailings from that list about this forum. But we want to be able to share with you guys what we're working on, things that are being renewed. We'll also have information if there was a price increase or price decrease, any amendments, those kinds of things on our contracts so that you guys can stay up to date on those. So I hope that you guys have a better understanding now of what our statewide contracts are and how they can benefit you all, how to find information, and find if an item is available for you to purchase. So there's several ways that you can do that, but if you get lost or confused, you can always just reach out directly to us and we can help you identify if something's available to you all. I want to mention that if something is not on a statewide contract, but it is similar in scope to one of our statewide contracts, let's say we have this great statewide contract for ice cream, and we have chocolate and we have vanilla, but we don't have pistachio. And you guys really eat a lot of pistachio, so you need it on the contract. Reach out to us because we may be able to add that to the contract. We have what we call an MOU process. It's very similar to an amendment, but it's a little faster, where we can add those items that are in scope to an existing contract. So we've done that for a couple occasions for local governments that needed something that we didn't necessarily at the state, and we were able to get it added to the contract for them. And if you do find a contract that has something you need, or we've added that pistachio ice cream and you're ready to purchase, it is as simple as finding the information for the contract and the supplier, contacting that supplier, and placing your order, issuing them that PO. And I mentioned earlier that there may be a few things you have to do at your organization's level. So there are some contracts that you may have to set up an account with the supplier. For example, if you need to be able to do direct billing, they need to have your information and know how to do that. There may be some other administrative tasks you have to complete. We do maintain certificates of insurance with our suppliers, and it lists the state of Tennessee as an additional insured, but if your local government organization requires that your entity is listed as an additional insured, you have to reach out to the supplier and get a certificate of insurance for that, for example. So, all right. Well, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lindsay here, who's going to talk to you a little bit more about some of our statewide contracts and the structures that you'll see. So, thank you.
All right, thanks, Joy. My name is Lindsay Ladner. I've been in the CPO for a little over 5 years now, and I've been a category specialist on the commodities team for about 3.5 years. So right now I'm going to go over commodities, services, and technology. Okay, so the learning objectives for this presentation are statewide contracts and who manages them, category management and the category teams, how to determine if a statewide contract is needed, and various contract structures. So first of all, statewide contracts are contracts for goods or services available to all state agencies and authorized users. They're procured and managed by the category management team, which is made up of 3 individual teams: commodities, services, and technology. and each team is made up of 5 category specialists and 1 team lead. Okay, so here's a snippet of our organizational chart. If you look on the left, you'll see the 5 category specialists and how they roll up to the category team lead. So each 3 of these team leads will then report to Trey Norris, who's our DGS Procurement Program Director. And then Trey will report to Paul Kerbaka, who's our lead attorney and Director of Category Management. Paul also is the leader for our staff attorneys, which is really helpful because we utilize them if we have any legal questions or when we're developing our solicitations and contracts. Okay. So first we have our commodities team. And so the commodities team is primarily responsible for the procurement and management of statewide contracts centered around commodities. So this is office furniture, office supplies, vehicles, gas, herbicides, staple groceries. So anything you can really touch with your hand. But for the record, I do not recommend touching herbicides with your hand. The category team lead is Tony Bidey, and the category specialists are myself, Mike Neely, Karen Conway, James Lynn, and Josh Polk. And so next we have the services team, who, like the commodities team, are responsible for procuring and managing contracts. But these are based around personal, professional, and consulting services. So this would be like pest control services, trash pickup, vehicle leasing, rock salt, and legal research and services. So Joy is the team lead, and the category specialists are Parker Burt, Vanessa Munson, Eve Wittenberg, Leighton Beecham, and there's currently an open position on this team. And finally, we have the technology team. So they're responsible for the procurement and management of statewide contracts centered around technological devices and software. So this would be laptops, computers, servers and storage, telephones, and wireless high-speed internet. So Josh Gaddy is the team lead for this team, and the category specialists are Richard Kotler, Michael Porter, Stephanie Landmark, Simeon Ayton, and there's also an open position on this team as well. So although each category specialist has their own portfolio of contracts that they create and manage themselves, we all sit together, so we're able to collaborate and pick each other's brains, share lessons learned, and we're all pretty familiar of what's going on with each other's contracts, so it creates a transparent environment, which is very helpful. Okay, and so as Joy just shared, here's our CPO office directory link, and if you want to see the full CPO organizational chart, it can be found on the CPO website as well. Okay, so moving on to how to determine if a statewide contract is needed. So the guiding criteria for establishing a statewide contract, we looked at projected utilization, significant volume, additional discounts or pricing breaks, and a recurring need. So the easiest way to look at this is through a contract like our office supplies. So pretty much every state agency and a ton of authorized users have a need for office supplies. There's a significant volume for office supplies, so we're not only looking at this year, but we know we're going to need office supplies for years to come. Additional discounts. So when we all come together and have the same need for office supplies, we are able to leverage at lower prices. And finally, there's a recurring need. For example, we have new hires all the time, so we're always needing new pens. And then there's also employees like me who need pens all the time, and so that's a recurring need as well. Okay. And so next we have the various contract structures. So there are two pricing structures. First we have the fixed line item, and then second we have the catalog items. And then we have different award structures. So first we have the single award structure, and then we have the multi-supplier award structure. which can be broken down into line item, regional award, tier award, and a constant compete. So first and foremost, the easiest way to identify a contract structure is by looking at the usage instructions. So here's an example of the usage instructions. And like Joy said, this is a great tool. If you're ever overwhelmed with how many documents are in a contract, I encourage you to look at the usage instructions because that'll really piece everything together. Okay, so the usage instructions will include the contract period. So when the contract starts, the initial end date, if there's any renewals or extensions, that can be found on here as well. It'll provide a summary and background information. It'll show you the CPO contract administrator's contact info, the supplier contact information, state agency ordering instructions. If there's any specific local government instructions, that would be on here as well, and any other contract specific details. So this would be like if there's a formula to calculate the pricing, if there's any emergency procedures, this would be on the contract usage instructions. Okay. So first we have the pricing structure for fixed line items. So these are set items with fixed pricing. If you look at the example for the checkpoint and body scanner contract, in the first box you'll see a line number and then an item ID. So when you reach out to the suppliers, you'll want to reference the item ID number so they know exactly what you're talking about. Below that you'll see the item description, the unit measure, and then if there is a vendor or part or a vendor or manufacturer part number, that will be on there as well. In the second red box, you'll see the unit price. So since this is a fixed line item, that unit price is going to remain the same. However, sometimes suppliers will request for a price increase, and the state will review that, and if it's deemed necessary, we'll go in and we'll update the contract so you'll see a new unit price. But again, it will remain the same. Next, we have the catalog structure. And so these are contracts that utilize catalogs for purchasing, and a discount is negotiated during award. So you'll see here, there is no specific item ID, and there's no unit price. But in the red box, you'll see for the forestry supplier's contract, there's an 8% off catalog discount. So this one's really easy and straightforward to understand. We receive an 8% discount on the entire catalog. And so the prices within the catalog may go up just because the supplier will come out with new catalogs each year, but we're always going to maintain that 8% discount. This one's pretty straightforward since it's the entire catalog that forestry suppliers has, but that's not always the case, and sometimes it causes a little bit of confusion. For example, we have a contract with John Deere, and so we have a catalog discount on their UTVs. A lot of times people get confused thinking that since we have that specific contract, we have a discount on everything they sell, for example, their mowers. Unfortunately, we don't. So I recommend, if you ever have any questions of what the catalog contains, looking at the usage instructions or reaching out to the contract administrator. And we sometimes also do a hybrid of pricing structures. So we'll have fixed line items and catalog items. For example, with our ATVs, we'll have set line items for the ATVs themselves, and then we'll have catalogs for the accessories and parts. Okay, so moving on to the award contract structure. The first one we have is the single award contract structure. So these are contracts that are awarded to one supplier. For example, statewide contract 316 for office supplies. This was awarded to Staples, so Staples will serve the entire state of Tennessee. Next, we have the multi-supplier award contract structure. So these are contracts that are awarded to at least 2 or more suppliers. So if you look at this example for lab supplies, you'll see 2 individual contracts, one for VWR and one for Fisher Scientific. So although these are 2 individual contracts, they both roll up into statewide contract 563. And so now I'm going to go over the different ways that we can award a multi-supplier contract. And the first one of these is the line award contract structure. So these are contracts that are based on the lowest cost per line item. So if you see in this example, we have Diamond Chemical where they have 2 lines. That's because they were the lower fitter. But then you'll see in the middle we have a contract with Ecolab because they had the lowest price for bleach. So again, 2 separate contracts, but they're all part of the same statewide contract for laundry detergents and compounds. Next, we have the regional award contract structure. So these are contracts that are awarded based on region dependency. For example, statewide contract 215 for propane. You'll see that contract, Region 1 was awarded to Marsh LP, and then Regions 2, 3, and 4 were awarded to AmeriGas. So we use TDOT's region map, and this should be in the contract usage instructions or on a separate contract page. But if you can't find it for whatever reason, you can find this on the TDOT website, or you can reach out to the category specialist, and we'll be more than happy to help you out. Okay. And next we have the tiered award contract structure. So these are contracts that have a supplier hierarchy. Say for example, statewide contract 700. This has up to 3 different suppliers. And so if you were to utilize this contract, you would find your county, and then you would first obtain a quote from vendor A. So vendor A has the lowest price, so ideally you would want to award your contract to them. However, if they're unable to provide the service you need that day, you can move on to vendor B, who has the next lowest price. And if they're unavailable that day, you can move on to vendor C. With services, sometimes these become emergencies, so this is a way that you can ensure that you're going to have this specific service done when you need it. And finally, we have the constant compete contract structure. So these are multiple suppliers awarded one contract. The user requests the quotes to compete their job among awarded suppliers, and then awards the job to the lowest cost supplier. For example, statewide contract 3014. If you were looking to purchase a laptop, you would reach out to HP, Dell, and Panasonic and obtain 3 quotes from each one. And then whoever has the lowest price, you would ideally purchase your laptop through them. Okay, so I hope you learned a little bit more about the 3 different category teams and the types of contracts we have. If you have any questions, please feel free to visit the CPO booth at the supplier fair.
All right, how are we feeling? Woo! All right, we got through our first 2 combined sessions here, so we're going to move into the breakout session portion. That means they're going to look at our agenda. They're going to have a conference room that's dedicated to the class. All of these classes are going to have signage in the hallway. We're going to go, and when you exit these doors, you're going to take a left, then a right, then a left to the main hall, and you're going to see some signs pointing out there are conference rooms to the left and conference rooms to the right. And so you should be able to find big signs. Some of them are tucked into a hallway, so just take a look around. If you need any help, pull anyone with a ribbon. We will help you find your class. Otherwise, get pumped because these are really great content. Thank you guys.